The new leadership at work are changing the work situation in a way that I do not approve of. I reacted with depression and despair. I find ways to find peace and relief by making suggestions for another solution, or that I tell myself I do not want to have anything to do with their way of thinking or acting, or I promise myself I will not compromise my integrity. The peace I find does not last. Is it the wrong peace? Does this all show that I am identified with being a compassionate person in service of others? How would the solution appear if I was not identified? So the difference, if there wasn't identification, is that seeking energy, that agitation that comes with it, that feels like you have to do something. And it's like a movement. It's not necessarily behavior, because dependent on the way that you're conditioned socially and genetically, you'll have a particular response that might be reactive against it, might be defensive against it. But then there's this agitation that comes in where it feels like you can't rest. And then that shows the seeking energy in that, because you can rest. Whatever happens is perfect. It doesn't mean, though, that you don't react to them and you don't quit because of the way they're treating people. It also doesn't mean that's the solution either. So it's this agitation that's felt. Like your happiness is not dependent on the outcome of your work situation. So it's most probably like triggering an old trauma in your body, which could be a lot of things. For example, like a fear of authority or a fear of badness. And then you can find that in your body. Like, where is this fear of badness? Where is the discomfort? You can find it in your chakra areas. So maybe it's in the heart, like a fear of badness, a fear of, and then under authority, that they're going to hurt you. And underneath it, maybe what it is this is just an example. This isn't saying what you feel, Malfred. I'm just giving an example for people to see. It's like a fear deep down of abandonment. If badness happens, then you'll be deeply abandoned or something. So it's just coming down to the deepest feeling in that chakra area and allowing it to be there. And once you give it space to be, then you begin to bring yourself out of it. So you begin to see that that's not true, that you can't be abandoned. Nobody can hurt you. No one can reject you. And you can do, if that doesn't work, like using non-duality to bring yourself out of it, then you can do maybe positive things, like remembering experiences where you were loved, where you were embraced, where you weren't abandoned. So imagining the embrace of someone. You could make up somebody that embraces you. So these are just examples to bring yourself out of that discomfort. So the more that we get used to these movements in the body, they're not something to run away from, they're simply feelings. And the more that we can neutralize those feelings, so they come up, there's nothing wrong with them coming up, there's nothing wrong with them being experienced, but then we can also move ourselves through that, the more that the seeking energy dissipates. You have to get away from it. There's more of a surrender in embracing that. And then they move through the body and they stop being something that plays on your mind all the time and then wakes you up in agitation. And then when that begins to relax, then you can begin to see that presence is all that's wanted. This moment is all that's wanted. Nice, I hope that makes sense. Thanks, Malfred, for your question.